We're on.
Oh,
Okay.
we're on? Oh,
Yes. So we're broadcasting. Hi, this is Stacey Morris. It's about 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and this is my very first Get Vocal broadcast. And as you can see, I got all glammed up I mean, that's part of the point of why I'm doing this is I want to talk about my life experience, my experience with weight, with low self-esteem, dieting, weight gain, weight loss, body image, the whole 9 yards that comes with existing as, well, for me as a woman in this culture. And it's certainly not, limited to women. Guys are more than welcome to join in the discussion. But my approach to the whole thing has just always been really to be myself, just to be real, as little pretense as possible. So here I am, no makeup, my hair just dried, and I want to just reach out to whoever's listening or who might be listening in the future and start a discussion. So if you're on Facebook, please consider joining the chat. You don't have to show your face. You can show your face if you'd like, but it's meant to be a discussion. And Get Vocal is a pretty new entity created to really get people connecting and talking versus just chat room feedback, and trolling. And the idea is to, get people connecting and communicating in a respectful way, which is, I think, something that we all could really use. So I want to just start by giving a little background for those who don't know me.
Stacey, I just want to interrupt you for a minute. It's not streaming to Facebook for some reason. So,
okay.
Just so you're aware. So we'll have to figure that out later, but I just wanted you to understand. I'm going to go check YouTube right now.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I'll just give a little background. I just turned 54 and I began my first diet at age 9, which that's quite a while ago. So I have quite an extensive background. Unfortunately, it's not one that I wanted to become an expert in, but that was my lot in life. I guess that's what I was here to tackle, so to speak. I wanted to become an expert. Oh, now I'm hearing myself. Okay.
No, that was me. I'm sorry. That was just me. You are live on YouTube. Sorry.
Okay. Good. So anyway, the first diet at age 9 set in motion a lot of things that were not favorable to my healthy development as a kid. It pretty much, I mean, I was a growing kid, age 9. I mean, it set in motion just huge psychological fallout from the deprivation, number one, the physical deprivation, the very subtle and not so subtle messages I was getting from people around me that you're not okay the way you are, please change. That's not a great message to tell a kid. And it just, diets are not sustainable. They're really, no matter what kind of packaging they're sold in, it's not sustainable, even in short term, I would say. I mean, so actually it's a business model set up for failure because then you keep going back. So when I failed the first time at my first diet, that set up the whole, you're a screw up, you can't do anything right. So it was just a whole series of not very reinforcing things that went on from an early age. But it was the 70s. That was all we had. We had, Weight Watchers. We had Tab. I don't know if they make Tab anymore. And this candy called AIDS. It was like, they look like caramels and you're supposed to eat 2 before a meal. And what a ridiculous thing to give, somebody who loves to eat a box of candy, So there was just no good information back then. And, but that's all I had to go on. So I would try diet after diet. And then I'd in between, I would just go back to, eating whatever I wanted and feeling bad about myself. And this went on all through school. I mean, till I graduated high school. Somewhere in my 20s, I don't know really how this happened, maybe because I just had a lot of strength and will. I was young. I lost 100 pounds twice, back to back.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh. No, I was just saying that's amazing. I mean, I can't even lose 20 pounds, but yeah.
Well, and I don't know. I guess it was just sheer will. But I was really under, I'd been told my whole life, if you just lose weight, you're going to finally be okay. You're going to finally be happy. Pretty much all your problems as you know them will melt away with the pounds. So that first time that I lost the weight, I didn't feel any different emotionally. I didn't feel any different inside. And that was, not only was it bewildering to me, but it was just a letdown. And so I put the weight back on, almost immediately. And because I was young and had a lot of willpower, I like the very next year, not even a year later, I did it again. And same thing happened. I'd only worked on the exterior, so it wasn't a lasting change. For anyone who's just joining me, I'm just kind of reviewing my history with dieting. I'm now in my mid to late 20s, starting from age 9. Hello, Jean. Thanks for joining us. So after my second 100-pound regain, I was getting pretty worn out. I was really starting to question the validity of the equation I'd been given. And I think my metabolism was really getting fed up too. It's just like, why do you keep doing this? So there was just something within me. It was just like an inner knowing that said, you know what, enough, just no more of this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know you can't go on another diet because it just doesn't work. So what I did instead, and by this point, I guess where we are chronologically, we were in the 90s, which was the advent, coincidentally, of a really big and powerful self-help movement. I mean, it pretty much swept, I think, because as a culture, we needed it so badly, but there were shows on PBS, there were books on tape, there were infomercials. I mean, and I just started to latch onto that, and I delved into, Wayne Dyer, John Bradshaw. I learned about, dysfunctional family dynamics, and anywhere I could really seek some solid information, that's where I went. And I also went to support groups, Overeaters Anonymous. I went into therapy, and I did what, dieting, I sent myself in the direction that dieting doesn't send you, which is within, to really face your past, face whatever it is that's, bothering you, haunting you. So, and that takes, I guess it takes courage. I didn't feel particularly courageous. I just felt like I got to do something. I don't know what to do. And I'm just going to take whatever step is in front of me. And it can't be dieting. So in tandem with healing my inner wounds and facing my past, I also, because from almost day one, every bite of food that I ate was so heavily scrutinized and monitored by people around me, I decided I'm taking that burden off my back, and I'm just going to eat whatever I want, as much as I want. It was an issue of, I guess an argument could be made that I was out of control, but it was also very much taking back my power. And I just needed to do it after the life of oppression that I had with food. So I took back my power, and I went from, and I needed to do this. I needed to take the shame out of eating. So I went from eating literally in hiding, which is what I used to do privately, either in my car or up in my room when I was younger, and to eating out in public, like publicly enjoying food. And I needed to do that. And this was at a time, this was way before, way before the terms, you know, like body positive were around. I mean, it really wasn't considered all that cool for a woman of size to be enjoying food in public without shame. But I needed to. And I decided I'm not waiting for anybody else's permission. This is what I'm going to do. And I built up a lot of strength, you know, internally, emotionally, from giving myself that permission. I call it my flexing my right to exist muscle. And, you know, that was part of my path. And I don't think I'd be where I am today without giving myself that permission. So I got real clear on the fact that I was a worthy, valid, perfectly fine human being, no matter what the scale said. But there was just one little wrinkle. I was completely ignoring what the scale said. I didn't, you know, like for 20 years, well, almost 20 years, there was one point where I knew I'd put on a lot of weight. And I thought, okay, let me just check it out. You know, I'm probably somewhere in the 200s. I was 306. And this was in the early 90s. From that point on, I just decided I'm not looking at the number again. If I go to the doctor, I'm just going to look away. And that's how I dealt with that. I mean, I was not okay from a physical standpoint with my size. I mean, I can't say I enjoyed being that size, but I was finally able to separate the morality of it, you know, from me as a person. And that was crucial. That was because before, my whole view of myself and of my worth as a human being was tied up with my size and my weight. So I surmised, even though I wasn't looking at the scale, that I was probably gradually creeping up in weight. And I went along like this, just figuring, you know, I don't really know the answer to the physical part of the equation. I've got my self-esteem, feel good about myself as a person, but I don't know the answer to the rest. So I just kind of made peace with it at the end of 2008. And then January, like literally the beginning of the month, January 5th, I had a doctor's appointment, my annual checkup. And for whatever reason, I found myself looking down at the scale when I got on it, and it said 345. That was a little shocking, and I didn't quite know how to process that or what to make of it. So I went home. I knew Oprah was going to be on at 4 and that she was going to be talking about falling off the wagon, which I could completely relate to. I ended up watching the show, not knowing that Carney Wilson was going to be a guest. So she was piped in via satellite. And for those of you who don't know who she is, she's a singer, Wilson Phillips, daughter of Beach Boy Brian Wilson, just like me, battled her weight since childhood, up and down. And I just figured she's like me, you know, we're never gonna conquer this. So she was looking amazing. I mean, and it wasn't just that she had dropped weight. She was glowing. She was happy. She was absolutely serene. And it floored me. It was the last thing I expected to see that day. And just that little bit of, wow, somebody who's so much like me, look what she's done. Maybe I can do something similar. So she told the audience, you know, how she dropped the weight. There was a man who helped her. I looked him up, and it turned out he's a former pro wrestler, which, you know, I was like, I don't care what he was. If he helped Carney Wilson, he can help me. And so I ordered he had exercise DVDs, and I didn't have any grand plan. I just thought, just like I did when I embarked on the inner journey, I kind of literally followed my nose. And I find that that's some of the best advice I give people, that I give clients, is don't try to storyboard your success. Don't try to map it out. You can't. I mean, life is unpredictable, number one, and number two, we just can't control things the way we think we can, especially the weight. I mean, we can control it to an extent, but if I finally had to realize I'm not going to set like X number of pounds by January. It's just never worked, and it's usually a setup. So I realized, okay, no manipulating, no storyboarding. Just follow whatever step is right in front of you. So I ordered the DVDs at about this time, and this shows that, to me, it shows that when it's your time, like when you've made yourself ready, things happen, things fall into place. And I had been working, remember, for 20 years on myself. I mean, I was hardly just, I wasn't just sitting around eating. I was doing a lot of work to bolster myself and my self-esteem. Thank you, Jean. So weird timing, but it was meant to be. So I ordered the DVDs. I saw Carney. Right at the same time, I was ordered to testify in a courtroom trial, which I had never done. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be so nerve-wracking. And I totally planned on eating my way through it, to handle the stress. And this has never happened to me in my life. My body's response was to lose its appetite. I was so revved up on adrenaline. Wow.
What was the trial? What was it?
It was my former partner. He was in the World Trade Center bombing.
Oh,
not 9/11, the first one. And I had to testify for him on, being witness to some of his changes that occurred since the bombing. And it was in New York City. And I thought, what a great, perfect. New York is the best eating town in the world. I'm going to go down there and eat. And then I lost my appetite. It was but I said, okay, I don't have an appetite. Hallelujah. So I will just eat when I'm hungry, and I'll try to eat whole foods, not so much junk, since I don't really care about food at the moment. And so that lasted about a month. It wasn't, I did not have time to start the DVDs. It was just strictly from eating intuitively and eating foods that were, more plant-based, not so processed. Just in that month, I dropped 20 pounds. I had to go back to my doctor's office to weigh myself because my home scale didn't go up that high. But man, I literally flew out of that office because it wasn't the numbers. It was that I had tapped into something that was really right for me. And I didn't know what it was. I mean, there was no label for it, but I just thought, okay, that worked. What I just did for the past month, let's keep going. And so in tandem with that, I had joined an online support community that went with this exercise. At the time, it was called something else. Now it's called DDP Yoga. So I was corresponding with a woman, and she was giving me encouragement, and I eventually started the workouts, which were great because I could do them at my former size. And anyway, she saw that I was really taking it seriously, and she passed the information on to Diamond Dallas Page, the wrestler who founded the fitness movement. He ended up calling me and saying, okay, if you're serious about this, I'll work with you. So I had support, which was really important. And it was a real healthy kind of support because I had mentors in the past, like sponsors at Overeaters Anonymous, which I found some of their methods just way too controlling. Like write your food down the day before and you can't deviate. I mean, that just didn't work for me. It went completely against the intuition of my body, and it also felt too punishing, too controlling. So DDP gave me some guidelines, but he basically let me live my life and figure it out for myself. And I was ready. I was at a point where I was ready to do that. I needed a little guidance, but I didn't need super monitoring or super control, because that would have probably sent me away. So and I checked in with him once a week. And this is also what I tell clients, you got to have some kind of accountability, even if it's just to yourself. If you feel like you've gone a little astray with eating healthily, start writing it down, write it down. And that really brings it into focus. So I would send him my food journals, and we'd talk very briefly once a week. I should say that, he really was exactly what I needed. In the 20 years that I worked on myself, I did a lot of like inner child work. I did a lot of feeling the feelings and crying and being validated, which I needed. But he was like, I jokingly call him Sergeant Hartman. I don't know if you remember Full Metal Jacket, but he had sort of like a Marine quality to him. And I needed that. I really needed, to be a little bit.
The rigor.
Yeah. And his demeanor was no nonsense. I knew he wasn't a hand holder. He didn't want to hear any whining. And I kind of needed a little bit of that rigidity, I guess, that stoicness. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to, since he was taking an interest in me, I wanted to like show up for him. I wanted to make it worth his while. And sometimes doing, having someone else to show your results to is really beneficial. And he kept, with every victory, it was like, I get more and more encouragement. As time went on, I would start these physical milestones, like the coat. Back in December, before I started this, I bought a coat. It was like I think it was a size 28, and it still wouldn't button on the last button because I'm pear shaped. And about 2 months into it, I was able to button it. I mean, just little things like that spurred me on. And I really did not care how quickly the weight was coming off. I just wanted it to feel natural, mm-hmm. and to feel like something I could live with. So, it was left up to me to decide portions. It was left up to me to decide how many times a day that I eat, which I liked. I mean, I like having those options within my control. Some people don't. I mean, everyone's different. I don't think there's any one way. It really is what feels right for your personality type. But the 2 guidelines that he gave me that he wouldn't budge on was at about month 3, he wanted me to go off gluten and cow dairy. The cow dairy panicked me because I love cheese. Oh my God, do I love cheese. And I thought, if I say no to him, he's probably not going to continue working with me. So in my mind, the plan, I didn't really care so much about the gluten.
Did he give you options around that? Or was it like, could he say, well, you can cut out meat, but like, I would have been like, let's negotiate that. I know I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, he said you can have goat cheese and sheep. And
I could live with that.
That was livable. That was better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I've always liked goat cheese anyway, but for those who don't like it, because it is quite tangy and sharp, there's a wonderful cheese called Manchego, and it's a hard sheep cheese, and it's just identical to cheddar to me. So, and I also want to mention
triggering the cheese craving right now, but keep going.
I know, but I also want to mention that part of this new way of being was I could not play the never again game. Like no more fried chicken or I don't care. It's weird. I don't care about ice cream, but for some people, ice cream is very important. But for me, it was fried chicken. So I said, okay, I'm not playing the never again game, but I'll have it when I really want it, not as an escape, not as an exercise in, trying to, just avoid what I'm feeling, but when I really want it. And I learned, I had to really move away from the black and white thinking, mm-hmm. and take the middle road. So, I made that agreement with myself. When I really want the fried chicken, I'm going to enjoy it, and enjoy it preferably in a restaurant, not at a drive-through. I gave up. I just, it wasn't anything I made myself do, but I just lost interest in drive-through eating. Because it just, I guess the old associations I have with it. Of
the illicitness of it or something?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would use drive-throughs as an escape, and I would use them to eat in private. Or to wolf it down on a lunch break.
Like all these, like instead of enjoying the food and, I don't know, and kind of having a more intentional relationship with food, it was more like this.
Exactly. I wanted to have
thing you did.
Being seen, like going into a restaurant, ordering, eating in front of other people, but also taking time for myself to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I'd already gotten clear, there's no shame in this. And, let's just get rid of that antiquated idea. So I would have things right from the start to look forward to when I really wanted them. Now, some people, and again, it's what works for you. Some people I know will schedule a day to do this. I can't do that because my desires, my cravings are completely organic. I mean, I don't know when they're going to arise. Sometimes months will go by where I haven't had like one of my treats. And sometimes more, once a month. But in the beginning, I decided just to have a little bit more stability. I made it a once a month thing. So it was either fried chicken, because that's my favorite thing. I love it. Or what also got me through, and this bag, I don't do this anymore just because I kind of lost interest, but this is a drive-through food, but it got me through. When I had a craving for a cheeseburger, I would go to Wendy's. I would get a triple with extra cheese and no bread. So as you can see, I mean, for the most part, I ate no cow dairy, but I still to this day can't have a burger without cheese. So, but it's what you do most of the time, So a few slices of cheese on a burger is not going to really, it hasn't hurt me yet. So, and it made me happy. It made me feel like, okay, this is doable. I can take a little vacation and please my taste buds. Sometimes there is validity. A lot of cultures, take great pleasure in eating. The French, they wholeheartedly believe in eating for pleasure and nutrition, but both, So sometimes I just want to eat for a little pleasure, and that's okay. That's actually the opposite of escapism, is when you really are deliberately tuning in to enjoying your food. It's the absolute, because I've done both. And when I binge ate, I was hardly aware of what I was tasting. It was more like drug myself and acquisition. There was like a power involved in acquiring the food and stuffing it down. So I just wanted to make that side note about the little pleasure trips, because that was so important. Thank God Dallas did not tell me to do the no gluten, no dairy in the beginning. It would have been overwhelming. I mean, I tell clients, don't make too many changes at once. You want to map out something that's going to be your friend for life. Not something you're going to want to run away from.
So when you say clients, I'm sorry, Stacey, I'm not familiar. Who are your clients? Are they are you a nutritionist now, or how are you helping people? I
coach people, and I never started out to do that, but I got requests. So sure, okay, I guess I can coach. But what I do is I offer my guidance based on my life experience in tackling this. I see it as an adjunct to a nutritionist and a therapist if you need one. So it's meant to complement those two things, not take the place of. But I bring something to the table that a shrink and a nutritionist can't, unless they've also, conquered this themselves. But it's personal experience and knowing what not to do, and just knowing it inside and out. So I'm kind of there as moral support for my clients, and I give recipe ideas and nutritional advice that works for me. But again, I always recommend to everyone at some point, I think it's good to check in with a nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if not, just to get some of your numbers tested and see where you are. And just want to give a plug for my nutritionist, Nancy Guberti. She's in New York and Connecticut, but she works with people all over the world through Skype and Zoom. She's wonderful. But when I started, this is another example of I really started. I had to trust myself, trust my intuition. When I started 10 years ago, I had another nutritionist who was good, but she was well-meaning. But she gave me this one. She gave me some pointers, but one of them just absolutely, as soon as she said it, I'm like, no way, it'll make me crazy. She said to count my fat grams and have no more than X number a day. So I had already decided I'd already gotten clear. I want to eat really healthy. I want to eat clean. So I am not going to worry about olive oil. If I need a certain amount of olive oil on my salad, I'm pretty sure nobody ever got 100 pounds overweight from olive oil on your salad. So you have to trust yourself. And I knew myself. Like, I know when I'm running away from something I should be doing or would be good for me, but I knew this was not good advice for me.
Right.
Again,
right.
Maybe for some people, but it just would not have worked for me. And I'm so grateful that I gave myself that permission. And I didn't say anything to her, and I didn't say anything to Dallas when he said go off dairy. I said, yes, I will. But there was one thing that was not going to leave the picture, and that was the cream in my coffee every morning. I'm like, I'm not telling him. And I just need that. That cannot be taken away, because then now you're just playing with fire. I had to have some, that was an important way to start my day. I looked forward to it. And what ended up happening, I lost the weight, by the way. I lost it all, 180 pounds, by doing cream in my coffee every morning. So you got to realize it's not black and white.
Right.
You have to pick what's important to you and make enough changes so that you will see change. I knew I couldn't keep everything I was eating in the picture and expect change. So there were some things I was willing to just let go of and adopt new habits. And there were other things I was like, no, I can't let go of everything. Just can't. It's not realistic. So anyway, very, very unexpectedly, I was traveling out of town. I was visiting a friend, and she usually knows my deal. I got to have cream for my coffee. She forgot to buy it, and all she had was almond milk. And I just didn't feel like going out the next morning to chase down cream. So I said, okay, I'll try the almond milk. I ended up really liking it. So I've switched over, but that was purely by accident. It would not have been a good idea in the beginning to try to do that, because you're building strength. It's like you're learning how to walk. I was learning how to walk without binge eating, without all these crutches, that I used food wise. So I got the weight off, and it has pretty much stayed off. But I was 44 when I started, and now I just turned 54. My body's definitely changed with menopause. It has. I never believed women when I thought, oh God, they're just being dramatic, or but there's nothing to be terrified of. But you just have. I'm okay with myself. If I can be okay with myself at 345, I'm definitely okay with a little menopause weight. I don't know if it's going to come off. I would love to be 20 pounds lighter, but I'm not sweating it. I go back to in here. How do I feel? I have to love myself. I have to be okay with myself, or else, the 20 pounds is not going to make my life any better. It'll make my clothing fit better, but I have to really, really take care when I go into, perfectionism or scolding, or, so I'm not, exactly where I want to be right now, but I'm really happy. I am. I can't tell you. In 2 months from now, will be my 10-year anniversary.
Right.
And I couldn't keep the weight off for 10 weeks, let alone 10 years. So it took me a lot of years to find the right formula and to realize, I have the right to just call my own shots and forget about what someone else is telling you to eat. I mean, that's just,
yeah. I mean, I think as women, we're just, I feel like there's just so much pressure on us to look a certain way and have a certain body type that, I mean, I feel like I know women who have beautiful bodies and will sit there and say stupid things about their bodies and just, I'm so fat, and I'm just like, can we just all love each other, love ourselves? It's just stop it. Just stop buying into it. I mean, I do it too. I will feel like I don't deserve to eat that piece of chocolate cake. That's just a silly thought to have. If you want a piece of chocolate cake, have a piece of chocolate cake. And I pretty much have trained myself not to even think like that. But every once in a while it creeps up and I'm like, oh, you're being pathetic. You're being pathetic. You're like letting those little voices kind of take over. And it should be like, well, do you want the piece of chocolate cake? Do you want the whole piece of chocolate cake? Okay, well, we're gonna have it. Like, stop just being like, I try to I look at the way men kind of approach it. I'm just like, men don't have those kind of thoughts. They want a piece of chocolate cake, they eat a piece of chocolate cake. And I think, and if you I feel like, I just feel like that's a lot of it. It's just this female stuff. And I really am trying to untrain my brain from it in a lot of respects, to just be kinder to myself, to just allow myself things, to be forgiving of my bulges. They come and they go. I'm like, I have like 3 sizes in my closet. Like right now I'm right in the middle. Like the small end of the closet, but whatever. If I don't, I don't. And then I'll just give all that shit away and buy new shit. And then the small size will shift to the middle. And let's hope that doesn't happen. But you know what I'm saying. It's just
I absolutely do. Yeah. And I've had to shift out of certain, because like back in 2011, I was at like warrior. I was working out 2 or 3 hours a day.
Right.
I was single.
Look at those pictures, because I was like that a few years ago. I was so fit. I'm like, look how skinny I was, and I thought I was all fat. Look at those little arms. I'm like, ah.
I go in and out with the exercising. I mean, in terms of the intensity.
Yeah.
Right now, I just don't have that fire. I mean, I do the basics.
Yeah.
I do walking. I love to walk. I don't like being sedentary by any means, but I'm just more of a baseline, yoga, DDP yoga, and walking.
Right.
And that works for me right now. At some point I might get back into Iron Woman, but I don't look like I did in 2011. And I went through some conflict with that. And then I'm like, wait a minute. No, we are evolutionary creatures. We're not meant to be in stasis,
Right.
And what I look like now, what I feel like now it's all a confluence of what's going on in my life, which our lives are not just us, we're influenced by outside forces, by circumstances, by people. So, it's all about now, coping with what is and just being as really mindful and present as I can. Like today, I had a really horrible day today. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. It was like the opposite of synchronicity. And it was really upsetting a few times during the day. I was like, really? But I just said, you know what? You're having a bad day. That's not a great day. Just roll with it. Just roll with it. The good days don't last either. So it's just about riding the waves.
Right, right.
I refused to let myself get carried away, like with complaining or awfulizing or magnifying it. I just stayed really even keeled. Okay. So when you just said, when you can get critical sometimes, that the best thing you can do is just to be aware of it. Just catch it. Say, oh yeah, that's old stuff. Now I think differently now. I don't buy into it, but there it is. It might still echo, but I don't obey it anymore. That's how I handle it. And I think as women, it's been drummed in. It's been drummed in for so many centuries, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that we have to be and look and, all these requirements. But it's changing. I see the younger generation, and I don't see them with as many concerns like
Really?
that I at that age. Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting better. There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of work to do, and we have such a horrible system of food that's available to the masses. It's still astonishingly bad in terms of quality and what it does.
And also for lifestyle, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort and planning and to eat well, kind of, an expense, really. I mean, it's not something, it's almost like you really, I mean, I know because when I do plan, I eat well, but when I don't, I'm just like picking up a sandwich and picking that same sandwich the next, and it's like, I don't really even enjoy that sandwich. And it's it's not that healthy, and it's gonna, what I'm like, I just feel like it just takes a lot of attention, and like our society isn't really set up, like, that's why I love Italy, because they just really make a priority of eating really well, really quality food, and that ton of it just well,
Yeah, absolutely. And it does take time. But that's another thing that's changing for the better. Like I see in the grocery stores, like you can walk into the produce section and get riced cauliflower, or julienne zucchini for vegetable pasta.
Or even those meal kits now. There's one that for some reason they keep serving me ads on Facebook because they probably know I'm probably going to pull the trigger one day. But now there's like the clean eating box they'll send you home.
Oh yeah, ready-made.
I'm just like, and I always go look at the recipes. I'm like, oh, there's way too much broccoli in those boxes. Never mind, because I hate broccoli.
One thing that I just want to throw out there, because I'm a believer in eating real food, and this goes such a long way in getting good food into your system and saving time, and that is a Vitamix. If it's a chunk of change, but I bought mine on QVC with Easy Pay, and there was no interest, and I just paid for it within 6 months. It's changed my life. I'm someone who's not fond of vegetables, so I will do I'll make like cream of cauliflower soup with no cream. Restaurants use this all the time to make their cream soups and drinks. If I'm feeling like I'm really low on veggies, I'll just cram in a bunch of spinach, water, little sometimes spirulina, whatever, lime juice, and just gulp it down. But it's a great way to get good food into you and enjoyably, like really enjoyably. So, but there are no rules. I want to really get that across to people. I hope I'm not, I hope I've made that clear. There's just no rules. You have to listen to yourself and start with, if you're not even ready to deal with food right now, which I understand for many years I wasn't, start with feeding yourself good messages and good thoughts. That will change everything, because I told you, if you weren't here for the beginning, I lost 100 pounds 2 times in my life, thinking that would finally turn it around and I'd feel good about myself, and it didn't change anything. So it only really changed when I started to give myself positive messages, and it takes time. It's something that people don't want to hear, because we're used to this P.T. Barnum diet culture where it promises quick results and everything's going to turn around in 6 weeks. You can make some great headway in 6 weeks, but your whole life's not going to change. You're not going to, you're going to snap your fingers and it's all going to be different. But you have to start somewhere if you want change. Start somewhere and start realistically. So that's my main message. And there are 2 people on with us. I just wondered if you ladies had any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Ellie and Jean.
Jump up on stage if you'd like.
Yeah, you can grab a spot if you'd like in the room.
Maybe they're feeling shy.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if you just want to listen, that's fine too. But and if you want more information, just go to my website, which is staceymorris.com, Staceymorris. My fourth book just came out. My first three are cookbooks, all on. I've made some of my favorite comfort food recipes, some of my favorite entree, dessert, soup recipes into cleaner versions of themselves. But my fourth book is called The Untended Soul, and it's all about the emotions, the emotional side of the journey. So,
Jeannie's saying something nice over there.
You're having a bad hair day. Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, Jean. Jean and I go way back. We go way back. But thank you so much. And I'm just glad you're here. You know, I'm glad this is my first broadcast.
So Stacey, when's your book coming out?
Oh, it came out. It came out in September. That was book number 4. And if you go to my website, there's a whole section on my books. And I have tons of recipes. I have essays on my book, my website. I offer a lot of information. There's also information on coaching, and you can find my nutritionist on my website. But it's basically, I just want to give people solid information and a few videos too. Oh, thank you. Jean said my last book was very touching, and I appreciate you bearing your heart and soul as you do.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, that was the only way to do it. And the book really was 10 years worth of essays that I started writing, because I'm a writer. And I wrote some for the Huffington Post, some for other newspapers, some for my blog. But it was 10 years worth of essays on this process of the new me, of becoming who I was meant to be all along, and all the stuff that goes with it. It's not always smooth sailing. You know, I talk about setbacks and grieving, and people in my life who aren't always so thrilled with the new me. It's a big change, and it's kind of a shakeup for those close to me. And not everyone has survived the ride, but you know, I really didn't anticipate that, but you know, that's part of the journey. So I never want to give the impression to anybody that weight loss equates to problem-free living. I prefer this to what I used to be, because everything's so much easier physically. But you know, life still throws you curveballs, and I have, you know, great days, and then I have not so great days, but I deal with them now. That's the difference. I deal with them. Not always perfectly, but there's something in me that just can't run away permanently like I used to. I just want to stay for the fight, you know. I'm not going to run away anymore. So, we have a few more people. Stephen and Alex, welcome. Thank you, Alex. So I don't know. I've been talking, like, I can't believe it. I've been talking.
You were so nervous about the broadcast. You did great.
Hello, Stephen. I hope you can go back to the beginning after this has been put up on Vocal. Do you know where this will be? It'll be on Vocal, right?
Right. You can download it on Get Vocal. I think it's going to be on your YouTube channel as well. So you can activate it as show notes there as well. Right. You can download the audio if you'd like to turn it into a podcast or edit down to a podcast level. And it should have been on Facebook. I'm not sure why that link. I think we probably did something incorrectly when we were setting the schedule, because I see the thing is scheduled, but for some reason it didn't go live. So we'll have to figure out what that's about. Maybe we picked the wrong date on that. But yeah.
Well, this was my first Vocal, but it won't be my last.
Yeah.
I really like the format of Vocal. I mean, I like the idea of connecting either face-to-face or in a chat room, but in a respectful environment. Yeah. I think there's so much negativity out there, and sniping and trolling, and it just is not. It's not productive, and I'd rather communicate, in a safe environment, but in a productive environment, where we can all really respect one another and hopefully do a little learning too in the process. Yeah. So,
well, I think that was the intention of the site. So, we're going to add more moderation features, so you'll have more control over that. We're definitely going to start, picking people to help moderate the audience, if you will. We're still small enough where everyone's super friendly and respectful and invested in kind of keeping a certain quality of discourse alive. But, at some point that might not be. We'll have to rely on other tactics for that. But yeah.
Okay, well, cool. I'm really excited to be here, and just guys, I'll be posting information on my next broadcast, and I hope you'll join me. And if you can't, check out the download. So, thanks everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks, Gisela, for being on stage with me. Okay, everyone, have a great night, and take it easy on yourselves. Okay.
Okay. Bye, Stacey.
Bye.